Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rank 'em Up, a show where I rank different film franchises, shows, and game series to see how they rank up. Joining me today is King Brandis. Say hi.
How's it going, everybody? Very excited to be here today.
Today, the franchise that we are doing is Spider-Man, the Spider-Man films. We're each gonna take turns from our least to best. It's basically just gonna go back and forth between us. King Brandis, what is your least favorite Spider-Man film?
Give me a second to think about this. Oh wait, no. Well, at number 8, for me, this is not a competition. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, or as it should have been called, the really lame Spider-Man 2. I don't know what to say about this movie. I think it's just a complete mess. This is a perfect example of trying to do too much, of trying to do so much to the point where you forget to focus on the execution. And the way that they did all of the villains in this movie were terrible. All of them were weak. The way they did Rhino was weak. The way they did Electro, I thought was weak. The way they did Green Goblin was weak. And what kills me about it is that you have 3 great actors playing each one of those villains. That if they were given their own movie, could have been great as those villains. You got Paul Giamatti as Rhino. You got Jamie Foxx as Electro. You got Dane DeHaan as Green Goblin. Anybody, if this movie wasn't made, you'd think, whoa, those guys would make some awesome villains. That would be awesome. And to think that there was going to be like even more stuff in this movie that was cut out. I mean, it messes with my mind. I just can't believe it. I mean, all of the stuff with Electro, just the look of Electro in general, making him blue, the whole thing with the electric fixing his teeth, and the way the way they made Jamie Foxx look before he becomes Electro with like the hair and like the glasses, like
He's a nerd.
it just feels like what is this? The whole thing with Green Goblin with the whole disease thing didn't make any sense at all. And then all of the stuff with Rhino, which is very little, it's like as the movie finally starts to get good, right? And you've got the awesome shot of Rhino and Spider-Man. He's swinging the manhole cover. Movie ends. Right as it's about to get good. And what kills me is that was all in the trailers. That was like the main thing that was in the trailers, was them showing the whole thing with Rhino and Spider-Man. It was like, whoa, that looks pretty cool. But yeah. I will say the one memorable part of this movie is, of course, the Gwen Stacy death, which I assume we're talking. This is all spoilers.
Oh yeah, this is all spoilers.
So yeah, that is the one part that actually does make a bit of an impact. And again, the performances from Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone were quite good. I thought they were very good in both of these roles. But to me, that scene is merited a little bit by the fact that he makes the web hand.
Oh yeah.
I just thought that was so dumb. Just such a poor choice.
It's like the cheesiest thing that they did in like the Andrew Garfield films.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing is that they give him a new suit in this one, because a lot of people weren't that thrilled with the suit from the first movie. He gets another suit in this movie, and I really like the design of the suit overall. It's much closer to what the Tobey Maguire movies and stuff. But I will say that when that suit is in motion, it just sort of kind of it doesn't look that great, to be honest, to me. When the suit is in motion, it kind of just looks like Spider-Man pajamas or a costume or something. It just, I don't know, to me that it's like I prefer the design, but when it's in motion, I think, to be honest, I think the suit from the previous movie actually worked better. But those are my sort of qualms and problems with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that's what puts it right at the bottom of my list.
So my least favorite Spider-Man film, and I'm gonna agree with Brandis. It's gotta be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like this film it was just sort of, I would actually call this the really ugly looking Spider-Man film, because the villains just look bad and ugly, especially Green Goblin. Like, what the hell? It's the most scariest thing I've seen in a while. Like, oh, that, like, the designs on just the villains, like each one just looks terrible. They look
I agree.
awful. Like even like Rhino, I actually don't like his suit. Like the metal like mech.
Yeah,
It is a bit just
it's very different from, of course, the way Rhino traditionally looks, and it's almost like they sort of tried to modernize it, in a way. But I thought the way they did it in the Marvel Spider-Man video game was much better modernization. For those of you who have played that game, you know what I'm talking about.
I actually do like the suit. I really like the suit. I feel like this, like I like sort of like the transition between like each suit to represent different part in Spider-Man's life. I'll talk about it when we get to the Amazing Spider-Man, but I think the suit just really looks good. I like the eyes and just the emotion that he gave in the suit. Like it just looks, it's sort of, it's not as good as the Sam Raimi suit, but I just really like it. It's just got that design that I just can't hate about it, and it just really works with like the look of this film. Like it's the only thing that actually looks good in the film. But yeah, that's what I think of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Very disappointing ideas and very not executed well.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. This movie is frustrating to me because it starts off very strong. And I'll talk a little bit later, of course, about how much I love the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. But that is why this is so frustrating to me, is because Sam Raimi, with his first two movies, proved that he knew how to make a good Spider-Man movie. Arguably two of the best Spider-Man movies. They were critically received well, and they were financially received well. And yet, they, for some reason, did not trust him after doing two magnificently successful and wonderful movies. And they basically pretty much, it's been pretty much reported and said multiple times that Sam Raimi didn't want to do Venom. That he wasn't interested in doing Venom, and that it was Avi Arad that basically said, no, you gotta do Venom because Venom's popular and nobody cares about Sandman. And it's important to note that when Venom, of course, the character Venom in the comic books, was not around when Sam Raimi was reading Spider-Man comics when he was a kid. You know, he was reading Sandman, you know, and that's why he wanted to do Sandman, because he remembered that character, and reading that character and loving that character in the comic books. Venom didn't come till much later, so Sam Raimi didn't really have any knowledge of Venom at all when making this movie, which is very important to point out. And I think had he probably had more knowledge, maybe the movie would have been better, you know. But it just bugs me that after doing two great movies, why the hell don't you let this guy do whatever the hell he wants to do. And again, Sandman in this movie is great. Every time Sandman is on screen, I love this movie. The transformation sequence, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It was just, everything was great. But then we get into all the stuff with Venom and all of the stuff with Harry as well. And I don't, again, I'll talk about the Harry stuff first. All of it, the middle of this movie, when you get to the middle point of this movie, all of the stuff with Harry Osborn and when he like kidnaps MJ and all this kind of stuff, and the scene on the bridge, and it feels, it's just, and then like the fight in his mansion or whatever, like it's just, to me, all of that stuff just, it feels like a weird soap opera. Like it feels like the CWDC shows type of thing. Yeah. It's just like it's so poorly written and executed, and yeah, I don't know what to say about that. The Venom stuff, what I will say about Venom, the look of Venom was pretty awesome, actually. Especially when he's like ripping the thing off and it like all the little like tentacle stuff. Like that, Venom, like the look of Venom, the CGI, I love the look. The execution not as good. The way they sort of brought Eddie Brock into the story was okay, I guess. It is a little odd that at the end that he just happens to be at the same church where Peter is, and that he just happens to be standing under the thing.
It is pretty convenient.
It's just like, but it's just you know, one of those extra little things that makes this movie frustrating. But I really think that it was a mistake not to give Venom a personality like what we have with the Venom movies. And I think it would have been much more interesting, instead of, because I get what they were trying to do. I get with Peter's mood changing that is supposed to be Venom's personality coming out. But they just, even with that said, all of that stuff with the dancing and the, you know, like it's just like
I can't keep a straight face when you're talking about that.
At this point, it's been meme to hell, and you know, like all the stuff with, you know, I'm gonna throw some dirt in your eye, and then you can fix this damn door, and gonna cry, and all that stuff. Like, it's just like, what are they thinking with this? And again, another part of this movie that really bugged me as well, other than the villains, is actually was all the stuff with like MJ as well. Like, I just feel like it's just like we had all of this on again, off again relationship for like the first two movies, where MJ confesses her love to Peter at the end of the first movie. Oh, but then they don't get, you know, after you know, Peter spending the whole movie talking about, you know, how much he wants to be with MJ and all this kind of stuff, but then he decides, no, I'm not going to be with her because, you know, I have responsibility and all that kind of stuff. And then you had all of the whole back and forth in the second movie, and then they finally get together at the end of the second movie, and then we get to the third movie, and it's still the on again off again thing. And I was just like, it's just like, oh my god, just by this point, it's like it was just annoying to me. You know what I mean? Just like, for God's sakes, will you people just either have a relationship or not have a relationship? Just make up your damn mind. Like, it's frustrating. I will say this. I mean, the stuff with like J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah is great, no matter what. But even then, we don't get a ton of stuff with him. But Yeah, so Spider-Man 3, again, love all the Sandman stuff. Man, if Sandman was in this movie more, it would have been so much better, I feel like. I mean, the scene in the subway when they're fighting, that was pretty awesome, but, you know, oh well, it is what it is. That's those are my thoughts, so.
This is where I also put Spider-Man 3.
Are we gonna have the exact same list? I'm very curious
If that
to see.
is, then oh my god.
Alright.
Right. There's a lot of stuff I do agree with you. The good stuff. I love the action scenes. I think they're really, really good. Just on par with the action scenes in the last two films. I love the stuff with Sandman, because Sandman definitely feels like something that Sam Raimi, like, definitely feels like the villain, like from like the past two, like sort of like Green Goblin and Dark Ark. He sort of keeps the theme going with those villains, and it definitely feels like something that Sam Raimi would do. But with Venom, like, it feels like there's another director involved, because it doesn't feel like any of the other films. It's just like the tone just shifts really weirdly. Everything with Sandman, I do agree, yes. And he should have been in the film, and they should have let Sam Raimi just have one villain in this film. I know,
like the previous two.
I know Venom got this film like so much money. Like this is like the most like successful.
True. That's true.
Out of like the trilogy. The first sequence where he's just like it's the James Brown song. It's fine. It's fun a little bit, but the second one with the dance where MJ's singing, that's going too much, man. Like that's like you didn't need to do it again. Like,
got to mention about Bruce Campbell in this.
Oh yeah. I mean, oh yeah. Bruce Campbell this is my favorite cameo.
He's so funny in this one. He's funny in all of them, but this one.
This one is like the best. He's the one good part of that scene, because everything else in that scene is just gives me a headache. Like, really, this is
yeah.
Like, it feels like everything that was set up in the past two films were just like Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck. Chuck, get rid of it. It doesn't feel like Sam Raimi directed it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it feels like Sam Raimi was there, and then at some point he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Topher Grace is an okay Eddie Brock. Like, I mean, he's supposed to be unlikable, but like, I probably wouldn't have. He shouldn't have been in the film. And I'm also gonna say,
no.
I think Gwen Stacy shouldn't have been in the film. I feel like she's awkwardly shooed in.
Yeah.
It's just really, really annoying. I feel like if they yeah, they got a lot of money, so good on them for including the.
They did get a lot of money.
Including the Venom thing, but the story that they did just felt very rushed, and they didn't feel like the past two films. So,
it is the third highest grossing Spider-Man movie after Far From Home and No Way Home. Believe it or not.
I really wished they could have, with the fourth one, maybe done it better, but.
And of course, we know what the fourth one was going to be. Mysterio, Bruce Campbell. Would love to see that.
That could have been way better than this film.
It was going to turn out that all of the times we've seen Bruce Campbell, it was actually the same guy.
Whoa. Actually, that would have been really cool.
And they would have set it up beautifully, but, you know, and they also had kind of set up Dr. Connors as well. He had Dylan Baker in all three as Dr. Connors. So they set him up as well.
Chuck.
Or, well, theoretically, that wasn't a Chuck, because theoretically we did get Lizard in the next movie, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but it wasn't him. So. Well, Spider-Man 3, I hate it, but it's not as good. But it's better than. I would watch it over Amazing Spider-Man 2 if you point a gun and if you point a gun at my head, I would pick Spider-Man 3.
Well, I know what my next one is.
What's your next one?
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Really? Is it?
Uh, yes. That
Is
would
it?
happen to be yours. What a
No, it wouldn't.
I have a little bit of a story to talk about this one.
Ooh.
So this one was made really simply because of Sony. If they didn't put out a Spider-Man movie soon, they were gonna lose the license, and the license would go back to Marvel. And that's the kind of deal that they have, where if they don't make a movie every couple of years, they don't do something with Spider-Man, they lose the rights. So that was the main reason that they did this movie. It's just, we're gonna lose the rights, so let's just put this movie out and we'll make money later, which is exactly what they did. But so I feel like you have to go into this movie understanding that it was not really a movie that a lot of heart put into it, which, and I like this movie. I think this is a very good movie. And I remember seeing it when it first came out, which is hard to believe that was 10 years ago now. And I remember like probably about a year or a couple months before, I remember going to the cinema and seeing like another movie. I don't know what movie it was, but I remember seeing the poster for The Amazing Spider-Man. And I remember it was a poster up on the wall. It was coming down from the wall. And they don't really seem to have those posters in cinemas anymore, where they would, like, these big, like, posters would come down, hang from the wall. I don't know if anybody else remembers those, and they had one of those up for The Amazing Spider-Man, but I had no knowledge at that point that there was another new Spider-Man movie coming. And I had seen the first three. And I just saw this poster, didn't have the title on it. It just had the release date and something. And all it was of Peter Parker Spider-Man. In shadow, you couldn't see that it was Andrew Garfield. He was on a wall, right? And you had in the corner of this wall in like an alleyway or something, and you had this light shining down from above onto him as he's holding onto the wall, and then his shadow formed the Spider-Man emblem, right? But it was just sort of ominous enough to where I remember looking at that 11 years ago now. I remember looking at that and thinking, is that Spider-Man? Is that a Spider-Man movie? Or is that not a Spider-Man movie? I remember having a conversation with a friend at the time. We both looked at this and we were like, is that Spider-Man? Spider-Man? and I know this doesn't really have anything to do with the actual movie itself, but I just thought, I'd take this opportunity to tell the story about this poster, because I just remember just the idea of there could be a new Spider-Man movie coming. And sure enough, there was a new Spider-Man, and it wasn't much longer after that. I think the trailer came out, but it's just that kind of mystique, seeing a poster and wondering, you just don't have that anymore, So I just thought that's interesting. But this movie, I think, the previous movie suffered from having too much stuff stuffed into it. This almost suffers from having very little. It's a very by-the-numbers Spider-Man movie. We sort of retread the same story from the first one, except arguably just not done as well. It's the whole thing just feels very bland to me. It just of all the Spider movies, this one for some reason just feels just feels very bland for some reason. And I honestly don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because there's not a ton going on, or if it's just. I think it might just be because with this movie didn't do anything that we hadn't seen in the previous 3 films. It was basically just the same thing again. There wasn't anything new. The only sort of new thing was, of course, the villain Lizard. And I've always really been a big fan of the Lizard character from the comic books and everything. And I will say that Lizard, to me, is the best part of this movie. I love the look of Lizard. I think the way, with the look of him, the way they made him look, I thought was great. And every time he was on screen, I was enjoying myself. Again, I previously mentioned Emma Stone, Gwen Stacy, Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker. A lot of people, a lot of love for Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, Spider-Man. But I gotta be honest. Didn't love him in this movie. I just kind of felt like he just seemed kind of like bored in a lot of the scenes. And, like he almost like very tired or whatever. And I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't know if they were going for a thing where it's like because he's up all night being Spider-Man, he's tired throughout the day. I don't know. But certainly didn't hate him, but didn't love him either, if that makes sense. But so that was fine. I mean, again, the movie has one scene where he catches some bad guys, and all of a sudden, randomly, he starts spewing out all these jokes, all of these like lines as he's got the guy like tied up, right? If you've seen the movie, you know what scene it is. And to me, that scene is very out of place throughout the rest of the movie. It just feels like they looked at the movie and they said, you know what? We should make this movie more fun. It's too dour. So let's go and shoot this scene real quick and put a bunch of jokes in that instead of having like jokes spread throughout the movie. So I really hate that scene.
Where's the jokes?
Yeah, where's the jokes? But of course, you can't talk about this movie without talking about the absolutely brilliant Stan Lee cameo, which is probably the best part of the movie. I remember I think that's the only Stan Lee cameo that was so good it was in the trailer. I remember in some of the trailers, TV spots and stuff, they would put that scene in the. But another story about going back 10 years ago to when the movie came out. I remember going to see the movie when it came out, and there wasn't much reaction to what was going on. The audience was pretty much quiet throughout the whole movie. There wasn't any laughing or anything. There wasn't much reaction to what was going on, like to the point where you could literally close your eyes and you would think you were in an empty theater, except for the Stan Lee cameo. Everyone just burst out laughing. It was like the greatest thing ever. So I'll always remember that reaction to that scene. That was, So, Amazing Spider-Man. It's good, but it's not great. It's much more better than the other 2 movies that we previously talked about. But it's just sort of in the middle. It's enjoyable, but it just doesn't have much going for it, and it doesn't have anything that you hadn't seen in the previous 3 films. So, yeah, those are my thoughts.
How convenient. What a convenient, third time's charm.
Surely there's gonna be some stuff to disagree on.
Surely. We have to disagree on something. I didn't just bring you here to have the exact same opinion as mine.
I mean, we've had some different opinions on the movies themselves, but yeah.
But, yes. Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man. I just watched that film.
Spider-Man.
I just watched that film and I go, oh yeah, that was a film. I do like the Andrew Garfield in this film. Yeah, I don't really think he's the best Spider-Man. I think he's definitely my least favorite. Not that there's anything wrong. I think Andrew Garfield is a terrific actor,
Yeah,
but I think I mean, there are some parts that I feel like he really was having fun. Like, I know that he was.
he loves Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like, really loves it.
Yeah, I've seen in the interviews he definitely is into the character, and yeah, he does like playing the character a lot. I will say this. I do like the suit. I feel like what it represents in this film, with just Spider-Man and Peter in this film, at and how they like sort of are, and just transitioning to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, just sort of like he's not a hero, he's not a superhero, he's just off trying to find Uncle Ben's killer, and so he's literally just beating up just people who look like him. So he's technically not a good guy. Like, I know he wants revenge and everything, but it's sort of but he's not really doing it to help anyone. He's trying to do it for his own self gain. So I feel like with the black eyes and sort of not having white sort of adds to how where Peter is and everything. The lizard is good. I like his design. I know some people really don't like it because it just sort of doesn't with the face. I know that people don't really like it. I don't really mind it. I think the face is fine. Sort of adds to sort of the human part of the lizard. And also the eyes as well. I think the eyes are really done well.
I will say this. A
What?
lot of people have said that the face. I don't mind the face either. I thought the way they did the face was fine, but I will say that a lot of people point out that it does look a lot like the Goombas from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh yeah, it does. Now that you think about it, yeah, it does.
Like he's a reject Goomba.
Great. Now I'm just thinking of the scene, in the elevator where they're just rocking the Goombas
Yeah.
about.
They should have done a reference or something.
They should have done a reference, but whatever. Overall, this film is sort of there. There isn't too much happening.
It's there.
There are some good stuff, like Gwen Stacy, and Andrew as Peter Parker, and Lizard. Overall, this film's there.
So, this was the poster.
Oh, this
I
was the
was
poster that
talking
you
about.
found. Untold Enemies.
This is the. Yep.
What was that one called? Untold Stories. Never mind.
It just says the untold story, and it's like, is it untold though? Because didn't we see this same story in the first movie of his origin and everything?
Sort of, yeah.
But yeah, shall I go on to my next movie?
Yes.
Okay, so my next one, I would have to say, this is what it starts to get a little difficult, because all the movies from this point forward, I think are great to wonderful to amazing. But coming in, this next spot, Spider-Man Homecoming is my next one. I'm just sort of looking at your face to see if it's the same one that you've put.
No. Go ahead. Talk about it.
Yes, so the first movie, Tom Holland's first Spider-Man movie. We had previously seen him in Captain America's, almost said Spider-Man Civil War, Captain America Civil War, which, to be honest, was a movie that I really did not like, even though most people do really love that movie, but maybe that's something we could talk about another time. I thought from that movie, that I really didn't like him. I thought they gave him way too many lines, and just the way he was acting and stuff. I didn't like what I saw of Tom Holland's Spider-Man in Civil War. So I was very apprehensive about seeing Homecoming, and I didn't see it for a very long time. I was really against seeing it. I was like, what are they doing? Like, but when I finally did see it, when I finally did watch Spider-Man Homecoming, I was shocked. This is a great movie. This is a wonderful movie. Just tonally, they found a way to take it in a completely different direction that we had seen in the other Spider-Man films, but at the same time not feel like it wasn't accurate. You know what I mean? To what we think of when we think of Spider-Man. And John Watts, who of course has directed all the new ones, has talked a lot about how he took a lot of inspiration from sort of like the John Hughes 80s movies like Uncle Buck and Breakfast Club and movies like that. And you definitely feel that when you watch these. It's... I mean, I got Ned. I gotta talk about
The guy in the chair.
Jacob Batalong, the guy in the chair. As soon as he first shows up, you just fall in love with this guy. This guy is just, he's great. You know, just when he, you know, he puts the little Lego Palpatine, like,
join
"Help
me, I
build
build my
Lego
little Death Star.
he's just great, and it's great to have this like friendship that they have, this sort of that Peter can bounce things off of almost. And so I thought it was great. Zendaya as MJ, who of course in this movie you don't realize that she is MJ until like the very end, which I thought was very clever. Very smaller role in this one. Didn't really have a lot to do. But to me, you gotta bring up, we gotta talk about Michael Keaton as Vulture. I am a massive fan of Michael Keaton. I have been ever since I first saw him as Batman and as Beetlejuice. And he plays this character wonderfully. I don't think I've ever seen him in a bad role. I think he's a terrific actor, to be honest. But all of the setup with his character in the beginning, with him, you know, working and them finding like the technology and stuff, the way that they set him up was, to me, like one of the best setups for any villain in any of like the MCU or Marvel movies. So he looked great, and I thought the way that they portrayed him and everything was great. Having Tony Stark, Iron Man, in there as kind of a mentor to him, I thought was really good, because you could have very easily kind of let him kind of take over and sort of shadow Spider-Man in this, because of course by this point he had been built up a lot more in the MCU, you know. But they didn't, and I thought whenever he was on screen, he was great, and they made it work. And having Happy in there as well felt very natural. You had Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, I thought was great. Yeah, the boat scene, I really like. I know a lot of people say it's very similar to the train scene from Spider-Man 2, which we'll talk about a little later. It kind of is. It kind of is. I don't think to the point where you can take issue with it, to be honest. But I can see why some people might feel like it's kind of a bit of a rehash. If anything, I feel like it was kind of a reference to it. But yeah, and then just the comedy was very well done. It was very, you know, it's very sort of lighthearted. The suit looked very, very nice. Really like the look of the suit in this. And yeah, this movie is very playful. It has a very playful tone. I love the end sequence with the plane. Is awesome, absolutely awesome. Visually, it just looks great. And yeah, the one problem that I do have with the movie is the phone footage part.
Oh, right. Forgot that was in there.
The phone footage where they're showing him that he apparently like filmed the events of Civil War secretly, and and all this kind of stuff. And then when like just the aspect ratio wasn't correct and all this kind of like I just hated that part personally. I thought I just cringe and just every time I watch me, I'm like, oh god, this part
it's
like
weird
that
when
is the
like
part
it
where I go out to get a drink, in the movie.
it's weird when like it just like smash cuts back into like wide, so it's just like boing.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't really have any problems with the movie. It's pretty awesome, this movie. It's really great introduction. If only this had been the first time we had seen Tom Holland. But you know what, it is what it is. So yeah, great movie. Spider-Man Homecoming, really love it. Oh, gotta talk about the car sequence. Oh my god, that is so great. When the twist that he is in fact Liz's dad is great. Like, it's a legitimately great twist. Like, you don't see it coming. And that scene in the car is just probably my favorite scene in the movie. Like, the tension just builds and builds and builds, and you can just see it in Michael Keaton's eyes when he's looking in the rear view mirror. You can just see that he is starting to figure out that Peter is Spider-Man, and just the way he's just sort of looking, it just makes you go, "Oh my god!" Like, it's great. So, what's your pick? It wouldn't be Spider-Man Homecoming now, would it?
No, it's Spider-Man Far From Home.
What? I'm shocked.
I really like this film. I think the film is great, but
oh no,
I mean, compared to the other ones, compared to Homecoming, I think Homecoming is more of an enjoyable film to me. I just have
completely disagree.
Wait, shut up. This is I mean, I love this film. It's still very enjoyable, much more enjoyable than the last three that we've been talking about. This is when we're getting to the good stuff. This is where the fun begins. Mysterio is great. I love him. Like, I love him, and like, granted, like, I know the twist was obvious, but like, when it happens, and just to see that smile on his face once he's got Edith, it's just like, oh, it's so good. It's really good. And then all the stuff with the elementals, and then him sort of tricking like Nick Fury. Oh, but he's not Nick Fury. Who cares? I think it's stupid that he ends up not being Nick Fury, but there's just a shapeshifter. Like, who cares? It's not really necessary. But
well, we don't know where they're going with that, so I don't know if we can judge that.
Well, yeah, but I would have been fine anyways. When they have like a character like from the MCU, like Iron Man and Nick Fury, they don't focus on them too much, which is something that I like. Sort of not taking the spotlight away from Spider-Man, which is good. Specifically his films. Like, Spider-Man doesn't have to be like have to have a very big role in the Avengers film or in Civil War, but for his films, he is the main focus, and it's good that they didn't take away any of they didn't take away like anything from like Spider-Man. But to me, the reason why it's not higher on the list is because I feel like with the other ones, they just have a lot more going with them, and they have like a lot more stuff that just like this film that does this film a lot more, that beats that film a lot more better. Like they've just got a lot more stuff going for them.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with a lot of what you said. I think this film is fantastic. I think this is an absolutely great movie. It's not leagues better than Homecoming necessarily, but I do prefer it. I mean, at the end of the day, it does kind of come down to, at least it doesn't have any dumb phone footage, you know. This movie to me really stands out in the franchise because the whole entire thing takes place in Europe and takes place in these locations that we
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
seen in the previous Spider-Man films, and it makes it feel much more unique to me, and it gives it kind of it feels fresh. It feels fresh. It feels new. It feels like we're on an adventure, and I just think that the way that they chose to film everything in this movie with the action sequences, I think the action sequences in this are probably like some of the best in any Marvel movie, honestly. The end, well, I suppose I should talk about first. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, I agree, fantastic, great stuff. Do you? I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, you know that there's gonna be because I mean, in the comic books, Mysterio, of course, is a villain, so you know something's gonna happen at some point where he turns or something. Like we all knew, like there was gonna be something, but the way they did it, I don't think anybody saw coming. I don't think anybody saw that, you know, that he was good. That like, oh my god, you know, that he was trying to get, you know, the Edith, the glasses,
Mm.
whatever. And then when you know when he walks out the bar, and it turns out that everybody in there is with him, and they're all, you know, used to work for Stark Industries, all that stuff. The way that they did it was brilliant, and I don't think people really saw coming. So that was awesome. Again, all of the stuff with Mysterio, particularly that one sequence, which I think you know the one I'm talking about, which is where he, you know, after when he gets hit by the train.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
whole sequence, which it's mind-boggling to think that that whole scene, there's not one live action element in that scene,
Mm. Yeah, the visuals
and
in
it's
this, I forgot to
that
talk about it.
scene. That scene alone to me makes this better than, and the fact that it has no phone footage easily makes it better than Homecoming to me. Because that scene I think is just it's just incredibly visual scene. Just the way that they did it was just like wow, like it was just absolutely incredible. And then just after all that, and then he gets hit by the train. Like I mean, Mysterio is they just did such a great job of making him just the just such a great sort of powerful and menacing and troubling villain, you know, because it can be so difficult with these movies to make your villain come across as an actual real threat to, you know, Spider-Man, but Mysterio really did come across as a threat. And yeah, and I do really enjoy the stuff before he turns, when they're just kind of together and they just sort of work together. I enjoy that aspect as well. And again, the way that they figure out that it's all sort of an illusion and all this kind of stuff is really, really great. The ending battle on the bridge with the drones, to me, is like the greatest single action sequence of any Spider-Man movie. That sequence is fantastic. The effects are great. The way it's shot is great. It's just exciting. It's just brilliant. Just everything about that scene was great, and it really felt like that was the first time that we really finally got to see Tom Holland actually really sort of like hint into becoming like a Spider-Man. I'm gonna have to disagree with you about the post-credit scene where we find out that um it was not Nick Fury the whole time, that it was the Skrull from, I can't remember what his name was, from Captain Marvel or
What, Captain
whatever.
Marvel? Who cares?
Yeah, I who cares? No, I mean, I when I saw the movie, everybody was just a gasp when that happened. Just like, what? Like that was like it was yeah, like, and I mean, to me, I don't understand. I personally don't understand why why you taking issue with that. But I mean, to
Just
me, my thing is that let's see where they're going with this. And I always just think it's funny when we actually see the real Samuel L, the real Nick Fury, and he's on the scroll ship, and he goes walking, and he just says, "Where my shoe?" Just the way it's just funny, and that's the post credit scene that was great to me. So yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home, great movie, love it.
Spider-Man: Homecoming, and number 4. I love this film. To me, this is the funniest Spider-Man film and one of the funniest MCU films ever made. It's like on par with Thor Ragnarok on how just funny that is. Like, this film, just to me, for the first Spider-Man film in the first home trilogy, like, it's awesome. It's amazing. It's like, Ned is like so funny because he just reminds me of like my friends. Of like if I found out that my friend was Spider-Man, it's just like he's just such like a fun character to me, and just someone that just like he's just like really good. He's such a funny comedic character. Um, and also like the twist that with Zendaya's character being MJ. I feel like that's really cool how they did that, how they were leading up to it, because it felt like how they were doing it felt like, oh, okay, like, this is just a new character that the MCU made up. Nope, this is MJ, the character who is quite literally almost feels like the opposite of MJ. But I really like how they did MJ. And the best character in this film, easily the best character in this film, is the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton as the Vulture feels like I know there's been videos done on it, but I definitely have to agree. It feels like a Sam Raimi villain. He's ready to go on like with the prom with like Liz, and he knocks on that door. Boom! Jaw drops. Mind blown. Just, oh my god.
Because at first you're like, why is Vulture there? And then you're like, oh my god.
That is really good twist. It's one of the best twists of all time. That is how you do a twist. And that is how you create tension. And how dare you point at my pointing? Tony is supposed to be like, because Peter wants much more responsibility than just being like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And then, but with Tony, you get like, he just shows that Peter's not ready for this. Like, he does not deserve the suit. He, like, with the boat sequence, like, you know that if Tony wasn't there, those people, that boat was gonna split. And I love that.
This is where it gets really difficult, and I'm actually contemplating right now. Was like, well, do I prefer this over this, or,
2 hours later.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to say at number 3, and I feel like my number 3 and number 2 could change. I feel like it could change. Yeah. But right now, at number 3, I think I'm going to say the original Spider-Man. Sam Raimi's
Really?
Spider-Man. Yes. That's what I'm gonna have to say. At number 3. This is where it gets difficult. So, what can I say? The Sam Raimi Spider-Man is, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films are the ones that I grew up with. When I think of Spider-Man, I think of Tobey Maguire, and I think of these movies. And this will always be what Spider-Man is to me. And I think a lot of people feel that way, especially in my age demographic. This movie and Bryan Singer's X-Men really were like two of the movies that really pushed things forward and took us into the superhero era that we are in currently. The superhero mania, comic book movie mania that we are currently living in. And they brought the superhero movie into the 21st century, if that makes sense. They tangibilized it for years to come. And this movie, what Sam Raimi was able to do with this film, is brilliant. And they took all of the heart from the comic books, what people recognized from Spider-Man, that line, with great power comes great responsibility, and everything else, and they utilized it, but also tangibilized it and made it feel real. The way his suit looked, the way Green Goblin looked, the way they made New York look, they made it feel like it was real, but not necessarily in a sense that it was in the real world, if that makes sense. They took what was on the comic book page and they gave it a tangibilization that was brilliant and was great. And the way that Tobey Maguire played Peter Parker, the way that he acted, was delightful. He was likable, it was great. Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. What more is there to say in that? Willem Dafoe gives a perfect performance as the Green Goblin. Honestly, perfect performance. Everything about the way he acts and the way he performs is brilliant. The suit, I know people are very mixed on. And when you watch the behind the scenes of the movie, they went through a lot of trial and error with how they were going to do the Green Goblin suit. And I think it kind of comes back down to that word again, which is tangibilize. And that's what they did with the Green Goblin. They tangibilized Green Goblin and made Green Goblin real. And I think it was smart to sort of just take the idea, the look of what you think of when you think of Green Goblin, that smile, that that laugh, but just and put it into the mask. I thought was great, and with the pumpkin bonds and the glider, and I think that for this movie it works. But you try to take that and you put it in maybe the comic books, maybe it doesn't work, if that makes sense. But for this, it worked. And again, the suit on Tobey Maguire is my favorite suit. I love the raised webbing. I think it looked great. The title sequence with the music by Danny Elfman is great. This has the greatest music. This and Spider-Man 2 and have the greatest music in any of the movies. Fight me. I love the opening intro because it just gets you excited with the music and everything. I know some people are gonna say, because they did a lot of really great stuff with the practical effects, and you had a lot of CGI and stuff in there as well. I know some people are gonna say, oh, the CGI doesn't look good, and to me, this is the way you gotta look at it when it comes to these movies, because the reality is that every single movie that has CGI, at some point, it's not gonna look as good anymore. Because CGI is something that is always changing, it's always morphing, it's always being updated with graphics and other types of special effects uses and such. So you have to look at it from the lens of 2002, 20 years ago when the movie came out. And when the movie came out, those effects were amazing. So shut your mouth. Because compared to the other movies that were around at the time, those effects were brilliant, and that is the way you have to look at it. So to me, that's a non-issue here. The way that they did Uncle Ben's death in this was great. Especially, and just the way they did his origin in general. Because superhero origins can be kind of a slog to sit through, especially when you know, like, what they are going to be, you know what I mean? But with this, they do the origin of Spider-Man in a way which makes it so enjoyable. So enjoyable. And I love just when he's out on the rooftop, just trying to get the web to come out. And he's like, fly, go web, and Shazam, and that was all great. Apparently, pretty much almost all of that was improv. They didn't write any of that down, so that was really delightful. And I know that's something that I know a lot of people complain about, that he doesn't have the web shooters. He needs the web shooters. They didn't have to give him the web shooters. It's like, shut up. Who cares if he has the web shooters or not? The web shooters are just like a technicality. Does it really matter if he has the web shooters? As long as he has the suit and he's swaying through the city, who cares if he has the web shooters? It's just, you know what I mean? That's I don't have a problem with that, but you know, that's that.
I think at number 3, I think it's Spider-Man No Way Home. To me, when each villain comes together and just talk, and with them just having this conversation, I've got the stupidest grin on my face. With all like these Spider-Mans, like with their stories ending from their last films, Tom's journey has only just begun, and I love that. We see him swinging with a new suit. We see him finally become Spider-Man. Just really want to watch it again. I just want to grab the Blu-ray version of it and just pop it into my PS4 and just watch it again.
I guess I'll talk about some of the nitpicks since you didn't talk about those right off the bat. Because as wonderful as this movie is, as brilliant as some of the stuff that they do with this film is, that it does have some elements to it that are a little weak, but they're very small. And I mean, to me, my biggest problem with the movie right off the bat is I do not buy for a second that Peter was able to defeat Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension. I mean, come on. I mean, that is his realm. And you're telling me just because he knows geometry really well that, he could figure it out and I could defeat Doctor Strange easily. It's like, this is supposed to be Doctor Strange's realm. He is the Sorcerer Supreme. If Peter can defeat him just by knowing geometry really well, I guess Doctor Strange isn't gonna be doing very well from now on. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that made zero sense. Zero sense at all. That was the one part of the movie I was like, okay, movie, no, I'm gonna stop you there. No. But yeah, other than that, a lot of the other problems are very nitpicky. A lot of people talk about the wishing stuff, how it doesn't. It's sort of one of those movies where the more you think about certain aspects of it, the less they make sense, and the more you start to go, wait a minute, you know? Because with the whole wishing thing, a lot of people have said that there's a bit of a plot hole. You know, it's like, well, why couldn't, you know, I'll probably say, like, well, why couldn't Peter just have stayed there and kept holding MJ's hands when the spell, and then he could have just explained everything to her. You know what I mean? And I would agree with that to an extent, but on the other hand, it's like, for all we know, I mean, perhaps with the spell to work, he can't be in front of her. maybe he has to go away, but they never say he doesn't either. And a lot of people said that's a plot hole, and it's like that's not a plot hole. And a lot of people have said a lot of other aspects of the movie are plot holes, and they're not a plot hole. Plot holes, which we'll just do a very quick little summary of plot holes, are essentially you have a movie, you have a character called Frank, and Frank says at the beginning of the movie that he hates fish. But then at the end of the movie, we see Frank eating fish. That is a plot hole. When a movie goes against its previously established logic. So if there's a movie that has a flying pig, just out of nowhere, just if a flying pig just comes out of nowhere, that is not a plot hole. If the movie has said nothing about flying pigs existing, then guess what? That's not a plot hole in a movie. Even if it's like a very hard, touching, sad drama, and all of a sudden, flying pig comes through.
Damn it! I now want to see flying pigs in films now.
But getting into the positives, I mean, where do you start with this movie? Having all of the villains come back: Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, I mean, Green Goblin, Sandman. Just seeing them, like you said, just seeing them interact with one another was awesome, and the way that they brought them in was awesome, and just really, really cool. And just getting to see, I love the scene where they bring Green Goblin in, and all the other villains are there, and they start to figure it out. Oh, great scene, great scene, gotta love it. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man coming through. And I thought the way they brought them through, the fact that Ned was the one that basically was responsible, it was perfect, because everybody loves Ned, so let's just make people like Ned even more. And that whole scene was so much fun to watch, because, you know, as soon as that portal opened, you kind of knew, wait a minute, that's not our Spider-Man, you know. And then it came through, and it was so funny, especially when, you know, he comes through and they have their whole interaction, and then MJ says, "Well, I guess you just keep doing it until we find the real one," and you just know, you're like, "Oh my god," because you know what's coming at that point. You know they're not gonna have Andrew Garfield also have Tobey Maguire. And then I love that he steps through. He does the little, he does this little wave like in the other movies, and I love when Ned just says, "Great, it's just some random guy."
Just some random guy.
That was such a great line, because of course he is what a lot of us think of when we think of Spider-Man, and to have Ned just say, "Just some random guy," I love that.
Nobody.
That's just so funny. Just some nobody guy. Who the hell is this? You know. I also love when, just again, the stuff. I mean, that whole final battle sequence is just a lot of fun, but I love when it just cuts back and Ned is still trying to close the portal. Just like, and the lizard comes through. That's really fun.
Oh yeah,
but I love when Doctor Strange finally comes back, and he looks at Ned and he's like, "Did you just open that portal?" And he's like, "Yes." And I love how Doctor Strange just goes, "Hmm." And that made me think, is Ned going to become a sorcerer? Is that what we're doing here? Because it feels like that's what we're doing here.
I hope not.
Thank you, Mr. Cape, sure. When he lands in the cape, that's funny as well.
The original Spider-Man. Personally, for me, this is the perfect casting ever. Like, this is the casting that is just perfect in this film. Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, perfect. MJ, perfect. Harry, perfect.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, that's just duh.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe, duh. Aunt May, Ben,
duh.
The Spider-Man suit, yeah, you can see the criticism, but it's my favorite suit. Just the way that it looks and everything.
Criticism?
Well,
really?
Well, right. A little bit of criticism. Like, I know that people think that they can see that. Well, they can see that. Well, they can hear that Toby's like not in the suit, maybe in some of them, or just like it feels very off.
I don't know
Like
what you mean by that.
like it compared to like Andrew and Tom, like just it definitely didn't like have much emotion towards it. Like there's a lot of
His face is covered. How much emotion are you gonna get?
well compared to like Andrew, like personally for me, like there's like some like it is annoying when the Andrew films, but like he conveys a lot of movement where you can tell that okay maybe Andrew is in that suit, and Tom does that as well.
What? Yeah, I'm gonna have to. The whole
Well,
idea of wearing a suit is that nobody knows who you are. That's literally the whole reason he wears the suit. So if you can't recognize it as Toby, then it's only doing its job. I don't know. I feel like that's a ridiculous criticism to have. Like,
at least that's why I think people think about it.
I mean, this isn't even your own criticism. You don't agree
No,
with that.
I don't
yourself.
agree with it. Well, I just love the suit overall. It's just got that iconic look to it that just
It's fantastic.
yeah. We like it's the funniest edit ever is the oh just like before he
Yeah, that
gets
was an
impaled.
interesting choice.
It was an interesting twist, but it's so goofy. It's so goofy, but yet so good, and I can't take it for anything else.
Number one. Eh?
Number one.
Well, we all know what it is. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Enough said. Goodbye, everybody. No. What to say about Spider-Man 2? Yeah, there's no competition for me. This is easily the best of the Spider-Man movies. I know for a very long time in the early days of like the MCU, there was a good argument to have that Spider-Man 2 is like the greatest comic book movie that ever been made up to that point. And I know a lot of people still feel that way now. It was such a great idea to have the script for this movie in the can before the first movie even came out. Because that way they were able to roll right into the production on this movie and not miss a beat. And they really just were able to take everything that worked so well with that first movie and put it into this movie and times it by 100. And that's exactly what it does. Everything about this movie hits. It is a beautiful, beautiful movie to watch. Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, I think, is probably one of the greatest villains in villains in
That was good. That was good.
Movie history, not just comic book movie, but movie history. Sequence where in the hospital with just the arms was creepy as hell. It was creepy, but at the same time it was a beautiful homage to Sam Raimi's earlier films, specifically the Evil Dead movies. And of course there's even that one part where the one doctor, you know, it sort of shows the chainsaw, which is even sort of a reference to that. But that is just a really horrifying, creepy, well-made sequence. I love how, you know, just the look of the arms. Again, it was the same thing with the first movie with what they did with Green Goblin. Tangibilization. They took Doc Ock, the character of Doc Ock, and they tangibilized it and made him a real character, a flesh and blood character. And that was largely, again, thanks to a brilliant actor in Alfred Molina. This movie, to me, probably has one of the greatest sequences, I think, in any superhero movie, which is the train sequence. The train sequence is fast-paced, it is shot well, it is intense, and especially when he has to stop the train. I mean, it is legitimately like, oh my god, oh my god. I remember watching this when I was a kid and being like, oh my god, what is gonna happen here? Oh my god. You know, and he tries to hold it, doesn't work, rips off the buildings, and you're like, oh my god. And then of course he does the whole thing, and just the emotion on Tom Maguire's face when he's topping, you know, he's like, you really believed that he was really like there holding on to that train. And yeah, and it was brilliant. I do love the scene where they carry him into the train and they give him back his mask and they say, we won't tell anybody. It's a beautiful scene, and I love that they sort of decided that they really did keep the promise that for saving their lives, the movie has hope to it. It has good intentions represented, and of course, if that scene happened in like real life today, everybody would have been recording the whole thing on their phones anyway. So it's a little difficult to go, oops, we won't tell. I just love the opening. It's honestly like it's weird to say this, but like it's honestly like one of my favorite moments in any movie. It's just when he's trying to get the pizza, he's trying to deliver the pizzas, and he's just like, screw this, I got he saves the kids, whatever, and then goes around the bend, and there's that one guy.
Oh yeah.
That sees him. So he's like, he stole that guy's pizza. I love Ned, but that is the funniest moment in any of these movies. That's just I just love that moment. That's just so funny. Even like with the other guy who gets the pizzas and then he slips.
Yeah.
The one guy, he has that one slice and he's like, oh. It's one of like the best openings to any movie ever. I mean, and I just even love. Again, it's just the little things, the execution of the way they did everything in this movie. Because they've got the setup where he gets to the place, right? And he comes in through the closet. And the secretary or whatever sees him there.
Oh yeah.
And he comes out the closet and the broom is all falling, right? And of course it's the thing where if he doesn't get there on time, they're not gonna pay for the pizzas, and then of course they already previously set that up. So of course he gets there, and he just keeps fumbling around with the brooms, just like, and you're watching it and you're thinking, oh my god, Peter, just put the brooms in the closet, just close the door. But it's so great because it's just his character, that pureness that we see, that good nature that he has as a character, and that just like that he wants to put the brooms back properly, and of course eventually he just like closes the door, and of course the secretary just sees all this, right? So she sees that he's arrived. But even then, and if he would have just closed the door immediately, he would have delivered the pizzas on time. But so she sees this happen, and he takes the pizzas there. She turns around, looks at the clock, and she goes, "I'm not paying for these," you know. Even though she literally saw him, he's at the upper end of the corridor. But nope, not paying for them. To me that those are just the little things that they didn't have to do that scene. They didn't have to do that. But it just little things mount up, and Spider-Man 2, probably one of my all-time favorite, probably my all-time favorite Marvel movie, honestly. Maybe Logan. It's kind of, but I think I prefer this one. I think this is one of my all-time favorite Marvel film. It's a beautiful movie. It's, to me, the best Spider-Man movie, and yeah. And again, same thing with the first Spider-Man movie. Some people say, "Oh, the CGI, it kind of doesn't look quite good as today." Shut
Smack.
up. Anyway.
Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man film. Didn't tell.
Didn't guess that.
Shut up. But sort of continuing the trend of like the sort of these tragic villains, and with the like I feel like a lot of the characters that you just feel very bad for them, and Dark Ark is definitely one of them. Because Dark Ark is like such a likable guy. He's sort of like Peter, what he wants to be. He's sort of like his inspiration. Like it might be my favorite comic book movie ever, and it might be one of my favorite films ever made. That's how great it is. That's how great I've seen this film. Like I'm like, really? Like I know I enjoyed it, but I should enjoy it more because it has like so many elements to it. So many fun elements, so many heartfelt moments. I think with also Aunt May giving that speech that everyone's a hero.
There's a hero.
Oh, shut up. And Aunt May is technically true. Like, because with the train sequence, it just shows that. Like, there is good in everyone. Like, it's like, and also that train sequence, like, oh my god, the train sequence is iconic, like in so many levels that it's like perfect. It's a perfect scene. So many of these scenes are perfect. Like, just I feel like just the relationships with like MJ and Harry, with like trying to keep secrets that Peter doesn't really want to keep. It's like the opposite that the Home trilogy did, where they knew, but this is like sort of like the opposite, like because Peter doesn't want them to get hurt. Like they don't, because Harry learns the truth, and Harry is devastated to see the pieces put together. Like it all makes sense, but Harry didn't want that to happen. Like, and MJ, like, even like she also realizes everything as well when she finds out that Peter is actually Spider-Man. Like, she, even if he is Spider-Man, MJ still wants to be with him. And it's honestly, it's you feel very, very happy. You got this Peter finally, after all this film goes through, slapping him in the face with all this responsibility, he can finally get the happy ending that he wants. And that is
until
why
Spider-Man 3.
That was what I was about to say. And that is why I hate Spider-Man 3 so much. Like,
Just forget that movie happened.
Yeah, I really wish I could. So that's our picks for, well, that's our list. That's how we rank them up, folks.
And now we will rank all 20 plus MCU movies. No. At number
God.
20, no.
God, don't remind me, because I probably will do that soon. Well,
Yeah, coming soon, guys.
boy. But yeah, that's the Spider-Man list. Please tell us in the comment section below what your opinions are on the film, because I am interested, like,
On all the
and
films.
what yeah, just all the films in general, like, and just give us your thoughts, and I think it'll be very, very interesting, and tell us if you if you like the video as well. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you, King Brandis, for being here, giving your thoughts on the film as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.